I just wanted to give the community a general heads up. Most of you are probably aware that NASA has asked the NRC for a series of white papers that would then be input into the 2023 to 2032 Decadal survey. It came up at one of the recent meetings of MAPSIT that it would be really beneficial if there was a planetary geoscience mapping white paper, basically to advocate exactly what we are talking about here today. There was not a similar paper provided at the last decadal survey. So basically, we're trying to make the point to our community that this is something we feel is important. There are a variety of deadlines for this kind of infrastructure support. The deadline would be September 15th, but I'm presenting this now primarily because it'd be really beneficial to get as many of the mapping community on board with this. Now, obviously, discussing a white paper is way beyond the 5 minutes we want to allocate for this particular meeting. So as soon as my computer server becomes available again, and it crashed the last 3 days, I'm going to put a draft of the white paper onto my website, which is shown here. And I would appreciate if anybody can provide some input to me by the middle of August. So I'm just going to go through 4 of the conclusions. The length of this white paper is 6 pages, including references, and then 1 page for the author list. So it's kind of brief. We've already had a couple of iterations with a few of the community, but now's the time to sort of try and get many more people to see what they think is important and where we should be going. So next slide, all right, please. All right, so basically I'm going to go through 4 recommendations. You can read this at your leisure if you want, but basically recommendation 1 will go through the types of maps, whether or not they're regional geological understanding, integrating multiple data sets, global geologic maps, for example. So that would be recommendation 1. Next slide will be predominantly the value of doing planetary mapping in support of future landing sites. This might be either for the moon or Mars, but also, of course, we're starting to think about, say, Dragonfly on Titan and a potential Europa lander. And in this particular case, the different scales which mapping might actually be conducted at, very high resolution might be 1 to 5,000 for trafficability studies. 1 to 200,000 might be something for the regional context trying to identify science objectives once a lander, whether it's robotic or human, will be on the surface. Recommendation 3 should basically just reiterate that we want to get required mapping in for the digital data sets, and that they should actually be integrated into part of NASA's sort of call for proposals, that there are a variety of new missions planned, for example, to Europa, where having a high resolution digital database will be very important for the community. So having in the early phase of each new mission, the inclusion of a formal digital mapping product would be of value not only to the mission as well, but to the community at large. And then the final recommendation, next slide, recommendation 4, we'll hear from Devon Burr about the importance of trying to mentor and have workshops for planetary geoscience mapping. I think this is really important with the changing of the guard in terms of losing expertise in planetary mapping. We heard from Corey, for example, the new review process for existing maps, where we have people come in and try and learn the process of reviewing maps, as well as just doing the geological interpretations. So I realize this is a really short introduction to what potentially could be a contentious 6-page document. I don't think we have time to go into detail or discussions on what is included within the document, but I will put this as soon as my computer server is up and running again. It will be available for everyone on this website down at the bottom in sort of a greenish color. And I'd ask you to send back any comments to me using track changes on this Word document. So I will stop and see. Devon's having some comments and Robin as well. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions. And Devon saying these recommendations imply that mission proposals to small bodies include mapping components. I would think if you're going to like 67P or the Psyche mission, there's no reason not to try and build up a digital database where you could perform some geologic mapping. I think that would be. Simplex might be a little bit different because they're cost capped, but you wouldn't presumably do the same kind of mapping activity. But at the discovery mission level, one would certainly hope that you would have a digital map product as part of that mission plan. So please take a look at the website. I will try again to put it on in a few hours' time, and you'll have about just over 3 weeks to get comments back to me. And then I'll probably be pinging a few of the community as this is refined before the September 15th deadline.